The stars hung like frozen fireflies in the void as humanity's first contact delegation approached the massive station. 12 alien species had built this place together, the heart of the Galactic Confederation that had ruled peacefully for over 5,000 years. Admiral Ju Park stood at the viewing port of the UES Pioneer, watching as the alien station grew larger. Unlike the sleek, crystal-like ships surrounding them, the human vessel was blocky and practical, with thick armor plating and visible weapon ports, though currently sealed. "They're hailing us again," said Lieutenant Doyun, communication officer. Their tone seems amused. Park nodded. He had noticed it too during their earlier exchanges. The aliens spoke politely, but he caught the subtle hints in their voices and postures. They viewed humans as curiosities, primitive newcomers who had somehow stumbled onto faster-than-light travel. "Put them through," he ordered. A holographic figure appeared, a tall, willowy being with pale blue skin and six-fingered hands. Ambassador Telix of the Araxian species, appointed to welcome the humans. "Admiral Park, welcome to Harmony Station. Your vessel may dock at Bay 47. It has been adjusted to accommodate your ship's unusual design." Park caught the slight pause, the diplomatic way of saying they found human engineering crude. "Thank you, Ambassador. We look forward to meeting the Council." When the human delegation of 12 stepped on, "Admiral, this is Chief Historian Glix. He's most interested in your species." The jellyfish pulsed with soft blue light. "Your vessels intrigue me, Admiral. So much redundancy in your systems. 3 separate navigation computers. Backup life support. Armor plating twice as thick as necessary. One might think you built ships expecting them to be damaged." Park smiled politely. "We believe in being prepared." "For what, I wonder?" Glix's lights pulsed in what Park recognized as amusement. "The cosmos is vast, but largely benevolent. The Confederation has maintained peace for 5,000 years." "We're glad to hear it," Park replied. "Earth's history taught us different lessons." That night, in the private quarters assigned to the human delegation, Park called his officers to 3 years. Echoed Krav, the crystalline Luminian diplomat. "Impossible. Our largest vessels take at least 20 cycles to construct, and they're a third of this size." Kim merely nodded. "If you'll follow me, I've arranged a limited tour of non-restricted areas." As they walked through the massive corridors, the aliens noticed how everything about the ship spoke of function over beauty. Where Confederation vessels featured artistic curves and biological design elements, the Nemesis was all straight lines, reinforced junctions, and redundant systems. "This level contains one of our medical facilities," Kim explained, gesturing to a massive complex where human doctors and medical robots moved efficiently. "We can treat up to 3,000 casualties simultaneously." "You built this expecting heavy losses?" asked Excel, disturbed. "We built this hoping for none," Kim corrected, "but prepared for the worst." The tour continued to a massive chamber that stretched for over a kilometer. Here, rows of railgun batteries sat in perfect alignment. Each barrel was the size of a small ship. "Main kinetic weapons array," Kim explained. "Each cannon can accelerate a projectile to 15% of light speed. The impact energy makes explosive warheads almost unnecessary." Airy, the gaseous Muran representative who floated in a containment field, pulsed with agitation. "These weapons could destroy an entire city." "They could destroy an entire fleet," Kim corrected quietly, "which is precisely what the VOF have deployed against your people." The missile bays were next. Thousands of launch tubes housing weapons with destructive capability measured in hundreds of megatons. The point defense grid could track and engage 50,000 targets simultaneously. But what disturbed the aliens most was the crew. 10,000 humans moved throughout the ship with practiced precision. In training simulations they watched, teams responded to simulated breaches, damage, and attacks with calm efficiency. "Your people seem so prepared for violence," said the Araxian diplomat as they observed a damage control team seal a simulated hull breach in under 30 seconds. "We prepare for it so we can prevent it when possible and survive it when necessary," replied Kim. The tour ended at the bridge, a vast, multi-level command center where hundreds of officers monitored stations. Unlike the ornate command centers of Confederation vessels, with their comfortable seating and artistic displays, the Nemesis Bridge was utilitarian and hardened. The command center can withstand direct impacts that would destroy most of the ship, Kim explained. It's also separately shielded and has its own life support system. Captain Kim said Sel, the Throxian, who had been mostly silent. "I must ask, is this ship normal for humans? Have you always built such weapons?" Kim considered the question carefully. The Nemesis is unique in size and capability, but not in philosophy. Every human vessel, even our merchant ships, is built with the assumption that space is dangerous. We armor our hulls, we include redundant systems, we arm our ships. "But why?" pressed the Araxian. "The galaxy has been largely peaceful for millennia." "You're part of it, perhaps," Kim said. "Humanity spent thousands of years fighting itself before reaching the stars. Those lessons are in our blood now. We hope for peace but prepare for war." The aliens exchanged troubled glances. "Let me be direct," said Kim. "You came to Earth asking for help against the Voth because your ships, beautiful, efficient vessels designed for a peaceful galaxy, were being destroyed. The Nemesis was designed for a single purpose, to ensure that whatever threatens our allies faces overwhelming force." As their tour concluded and the aliens prepared to return to their ship, the Lumenian diplomat approached Kim privately. "Captain, I sense you are not telling us everything about this vessel." Kim's expression remained neutral. "There are classified systems, yes. The energy readings we detected. This ship could destroy a small moon." "It could," Kim acknowledged. "But that's not why we built it." "Then why?" Kim looked directly at the crystalline being. 5,000 years of peace has made the Confederation forget something humans never could. Sometimes, survival requires strength that matches or exceeds that of your enemies. The Voth aren't interested in your diplomatic overtures. They understand only one language. And this ship speaks it fluently. The Lumenian finished. "Yes." Kim's voice softened slightly. "But remember this, humans built the Nemesis not because we love war, but because we've seen enough of it to hate it thoroughly. We know exactly what this ship can do. That's why we'll use it only when necessary." As the alien delegation departed, they looked back at the massive battleship. In their 5,000 years of peaceful expansion, they had forgotten what it meant to build something whose sole purpose was combat. The humans, it seemed, had been preparing for this moment since they first looked up at the stars. The Nemesis would depart for Voth space within hours, and the galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity's warriors were unleashed. The massive Voth warships hung in space around Proxima Theta, their hulls shaped like ancient predators. 27 vessels arranged in attack formation, preparing for their final push toward the heart of Confederation space. Their previous victories had been easy. The elegant but fragile ships of the Confederation had fallen quickly to their weapons. On the command ship, Fleet Commander Vex Thor watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The alien vermin would soon understand true power. His species had conquered 3 galaxies before this one. The weak Confederation would be just another footnote in Voth history. An alarm sounded. A new contact had appeared at the edge of the system. "Report," Vex Thor demanded. "Single vessel, unknown configuration," his sensor officer replied. "Size? That can't be right. Sensors show it at 15 kilometers in length." "Magnify," ordered Vex Thor. The screen showed a massive black ship moving steadily toward them. Unlike the colorful, graceful ships of the Confederation, this vessel was dark and angular, resembling a moving shadow against the stars. "Confederation reinforcements?" Vex Thor asked. "Unknown design. Not in our database." A communication signal flashed on the command console. "This is Captain Jinsel Kim of the HSS Nemesis to Voth Command," came a calm voice, translated by their systems. "You are engaged in unprovoked aggression against Galactic Confederation territories. Withdraw immediately or face consequences." Vexthor's scaled skin flushed with anger. Consequences? Who dares? He signaled to his weapons officer. "Show them our answer." Full torpedoes spread. 200 plasma torpedoes launched from the Voth fleet, bright blue streaks cutting across the darkness of space toward the lone vessel. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Captain Kim watched the incoming fire with steady eyes. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. There were no signs of panic, just focused determination. "Point defense grid online," reported Lieutenant Suo at Tactical. "Accelerate toward the enemy fleet," Kim ordered. Combat speed. The Nemesis surged forward, not away from the torpedoes, but toward them. This tactic confused the Voth commanders watching from their ships. "Are they attempting to ram?" asked Vexthor's second-in-command. The answer came moments later. The space around the Nemesis erupted with thousands of tiny flashes as its point defense systems activated. Like a sphere of fire extending outward from the ship, counter-missiles and energy pulses intercepted the incoming torpedoes, detonating them safely away from the hull. Not a single Voth torpedo reached its target. "Return fire," Kim ordered calmly. "Primary railguns, targets 1 through 5. Missile batteries, saturate their defensive perimeter. Energy lances, target their command ship." The Nemesis responded instantly. Massive railgun ports opened along its length, each unleashing projectiles accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. There was no dodging such weapons. They crossed the distance to their targets almost instantly. 3 Voth vessels simply disintegrated as the hypervelocity rounds struck them, their shields offering no more protection than tissue paper. 2 more spun away, crippled and venting atmosphere. Next came the missiles, hundreds launching simultaneously, each carrying payloads that would have horrified the peace-loving Confederation. Nuclear fire blossomed across space as the warheads detonated, overwhelming the Voth point defenses through sheer numbers. Finally, brilliant beams of coherent energy lanced out from the Nemesis, slicing through the command ship's armor with surgical precision. Critical systems were targeted specifically: engines, weapons, shields. On his burning bridge, Vexthor couldn't believe what he was seeing. Impossible. Who are these creatures? Regroup. Formation Delta. The surviving Voth ships moved quickly, attempting to surround the human vessel. It was a tactic that had worked against Confederation ships, allowing them to concentrate fire from multiple angles. On the Nemesis, Commander Junot at Tactical noted the movement. "They're adapting, Captain. Coordinating their attacks into a surrounding formation." "As expected," Kim replied, her voice still calm despite the battle raging around them. "Deploy drones and execute maneuver thermopila." Throughout the massive ship, launch bays opened. From these ports erupted hundreds of autonomous combat drones, each the size of a Confederation shuttle, but armed with weapons that would make a Confederation cruiser seem like a toy. The drones moved with perfect coordination, forming attack groups that targeted individual Voth vessels. Meanwhile, the Nemesis itself executed a complex spiral maneuver, rotating to bring fresh weapon banks to bear while minimizing exposure of damaged sections. "What are those?" gasped a Voth officer as the swarm of drones descended on their fleet. The answer came in the form of devastating precision strikes. Where the Nemesis brought overwhelming force, the drones brought surgical accuracy. They targeted engines, weapons, bridge sections, crippling rather than destroying when possible. At Confederation Monitoring Station 7, a group of alien observers watched the battle in stunned silence. They had expected the human vessel to be destroyed quickly, hoping it might at least damage some Voth ships before falling. "By the ancestors," whispered a Throxian observer. "They're winning. 1 ship against 27. "Not just winning," corrected his Araxian colleague. "They're dominating. The humans aren't just fighting. They're executing a perfect battle plan. Look how they anticipated every Voth move." The battle continued for 47 minutes, though the outcome was clear after the first 20. Voth ships, despite their fearsome reputation, continued to fall to the human onslaught. Vexthor, on his crippled command vessel, watched his mighty fleet being systematically dismantled. What are these humans? How did the Confederation find such allies? His final transmission to Voth High Command was simple: beware the humans. They are not like the others. They are warriors born. When the last Voth ship had been reduced to floating debris, the Nemesis hung in space, its black hull now scarred and scorched in places. Fires had been contained, damage control teams worked efficiently, and the ship remained battle-capable despite the punishment it had absorbed. Captain Kim stood from her command chair, surveying the tactical display that showed only debris where the Voth fleet had been. "Casualties?" she asked quietly. 27 dead, 112 wounded, reported the medical officer. Hull breaches on decks 17 through 22 contained. 3 railgun batteries disabled. Point defense at 60%. Kim nodded, her expression solemn for the lost crew members. "Prepare a full report, and open a channel to Confederation headquarters." When the connection was established, she said simply, "Threat neutralized," standing by for further instructions. On Confederation worlds across the sector, celebrations erupted as news spread of the Voth defeat. But among military observers and political leaders, there was not just relief but a new emotion: unease. The humans had revealed themselves not as the simple newcomers they had appeared to be, but as something the peaceful Confederation had forgotten could exist. True warriors, with both the technology and the will to unleash devastating military power. The galaxy had witnessed something it hadn't seen in 5,000 years, a species that understood warfare as an art and science, perfected through millennia of conflict. And while they were currently allies, the question hung unspoken in many alien minds: what if these humans ever turned against them? The Grand Confederation Council chamber gleamed with soft light that reflected off its crystal walls. Usually filled with the gentle murmur of diplomatic conversation, today it sat in complete silence. The 12 alien counselors stared at the 2 humans standing before them, Captain Jinsel Kim and Admiral Ju Park, both in formal black uniforms bearing Earth's new military insignia. Behind them played a hologram showing the battle at Proxima Theta. The massive black shape of the Nemesis moved through the Voth fleet like a predator among prey. The recording had been watched 3 times already, and each viewing had left the council more stunned than the last. High Counselor Thrix, her blue tendrils quivering slightly, finally broke the silence. "You've saved countless lives," she acknowledged, her voice carrying through the chamber. "The Voth would have reached our core worlds within days. Billions would have died." She paused, her large eyes fixing on the humans. "But you've also frightened us profoundly." "That was not our intention," Park replied with a small bow. "The Nemesis was designed to protect, not to terrify." Counselor Drav, his crystalline form shimmering as he leaned forward, made a sound like chiming bells, the Luminian equivalent of a laugh. "Perhaps it should have been," he interrupted. "Look at us. 5,000 years of peace made us forget. We built beautiful ships with token weapons. We treated defense as an afterthought." He gestured to the hologram where a Voth warship split apart under railgun fire. "Your species carries something we've lost, the understanding that peace must sometimes be protected through strength." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Even counselors who had initially been most disturbed by the human battleship now nodded. Thrix rose from her seat, her formal robes flowing around her tall frame. "The Council has reached a decision. Earth is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Confederation." Her voice took on a formal tone. "However, with a special designation never before assigned: Defenders of the Accord." Park and Kim exchanged a glance, surprised by this unexpected honor. "We accept this responsibility," Park said simply. "Good," Thrix replied, "because we need your help. The Voth may return, and even if they don't, the galaxy has proven more dangerous than we remembered. We must learn to protect ourselves again." Later that day, as Kim walked the damaged corridors of the Nemesis in orbit around Centauri Prime, she found herself accompanied by a contingent of alien engineers and military officers. Where once they had viewed human technology with polite dismissal, now they studied every detail with keen interest. "The armor plating here is self-healing?" asked an Araxian engineer, touching a section of wall where battle damage was being repaired by tiny robots. "Yes," Kim replied. "The nanites rebuild the structure using material from our onboard fabricators. Within a week, you won't be able to tell there was damage." Throughout the ship, alien visitors who once would have been shown only the most basic areas now received in-depth tours of weapons systems, engine rooms, and tactical centers. Human crew members explained defense grids, power distribution networks, and battle plans with patient detail. In the main hangar bay, Commander Chunho Kang led a group of young alien military cadets, the first such exchange program approved by the Council. "Are these the drones that destroyed the Voth cruisers?" asked a young Throxian officer, pointing to the rows of sleek autonomous craft being repaired and recharged. "Yes," Kang replied. "Each drone carries enough firepower to disable a small warship. They work in coordinated swarms, targeting enemy weak points." The Throxian's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep interest in his species. "Do you have more ships like the Nemesis?" Kang smiled. "The Nemesis is our first battleship of this class. The Tartarus and the Cerberus will be commissioned next year. Each is an improvement on this design." "And will they serve the Confederation as well?" asked another cadet nervously. "They will serve peace," Kang corrected gently, "which sometimes means being ready for war." On Centauri Prime below, Admiral Park met with the newly formed Joint Defense Committee. Representatives from all 12 Confederation species sat around a table with human military advisors. Before them lay plans for a complete overhaul of the Confederation's defense strategy. "We've begun analyzing your shipbuilding techniques," said a Moran representative, his gaseous form swirling in his containment field. "Our vessels are fast and efficient, but fragile. We need to incorporate your defensive philosophies." Park nodded. "And we can learn from your propulsion systems and energy management. This exchange will benefit everyone." "Some still fear you," admitted an Araxian diplomat quietly. "Stories of the Nemesis have spread to every world. Children look to the stars with worry now, not just wonder." "Fear can be healthy in small doses," Park replied. "It keeps us alert, makes us prepare, but it should never overcome hope." He gestured to the defense plans. "We're not building these ships because we expect war, but because we want to prevent it." The news spread quickly across thousands of worlds. The species that had arrived in humble vessels, asking politely for a place in galactic society, had revealed itself as something ancient civilizations had forgotten could exist. Warriors who had mastered the art of peace not through the absence of strength, but through its disciplined application. Some worlds celebrated humanity as saviors. Others watched warily as human military advisors began training alien forces. But all acknowledged a simple truth: the galaxy had changed. 6 months later, as the new Confederation Defense Fleet conducted its first joint exercises, Captain Kim stood on the bridge of the repaired Nemesis, watching as ships of all 12 species maneuvered in formation with human vessels. The alien ships now showed signs of human influence: stronger armor, more powerful weapons, better shields, while maintaining their elegant designs. "Do you think they understand yet?" asked her first officer quietly. Kim watched as a Throxian cruiser successfully completed a complex defensive maneuver that would have been impossible months ago. "They're learning," she replied. "Not just how to fight, but when to fight. That's the harder lesson." Across Confederation space, new shipyards and defense platforms rose. Early warning systems were deployed. Training academies opened. A civilization that had known only peace for 5,000 years prepared, reluctantly but determinedly, for the possibility of war. Humanity's battleship had arrived, and with it came not just weapons but wisdom, the hard-earned knowledge that the universe remained a place where the prepared survived, and the complacent perished. The peace that had lasted for millennia gave way to something new, a peace protected by those who understood its true cost. And deep in the void beyond Confederation space, as news of the Voth defeat spread to other potential aggressors, many reconsidered their plans of conquest. The humans had taught the galaxy the meaning of fear, not mindless terror, but the sober understanding that some boundaries came with consequences if crossed. The stars remained peaceful, but now that peace had teeth.